Alright, let's get this done. Today we are working on finishing the full build out of my enclosed race trailer here. The goal is to have basically a trailer that does everything. The smallest, most compact package between the truck and the trailer, so we can still get into pretty much anywhere we want to go, while having enough space to bring everything we want to bring, while having all the creature comforts without too much extra hassle to enjoy them. And this is a big part of that we got to finish up. Well, as much as I say avoid the rabbit hole, don't go down the rabbit hole, I do find myself down many rabbit holes, and boots has been one of the deepest ones. So today's video sponsor, Brunt, has kind of been my light at the end of the tunnel on my boot search. I have bought more boots than I would like to admit, trying to find a boot that checked all the boxes. You know, I was tearing through tennis shoes every few months. I kept hurting my feet. I just wanted some foot protection, something durable that was just at least somewhat comfortable, and you'd be surprised how hard that is to find, how many boots I've gone through trying to find it. I tried to shove different insoles in there, and if you've been down this same boot rabbit hole road I've been down, you know that it doesn't work, because then they become too tight and your toes are all squished together, even when you use the thin insoles. I just given up on the idea of having a really comfortable pair of boots, and I just thought it was a trade-off I was gonna have to live with. Give up the comfort to have the foot protection and the durability, until I found Brunt boots. Now I've got these specifically for working outside because it's rainy season in Florida. I got a bunch of outside projects. These are their 9-inch waterproof slip-ons, and I needed a pair of boots that would work well for that, to add to the stable. However, I started wearing them, you know, just for a couple hours here and there to get the feel for them, break them in a little bit, make sure I got the right size, and I tried to go back to wearing my daily boots, and it was like, I don't know how I was wearing these before. It was one of those. Upside, I finally found boots that check all my boxes. Downside, now I gotta replace all my other boots because I literally will never wear them again. So, bit of a good news, bad news situation, but I've been a huge fan of these. I would definitely recommend them. If you're interested in trying them out for yourself firsthand so you can see what I'm talking about, if you've been down the boot rabbit hole, go to bruntworkwear.com/TaylorRay10 to get $10 off a pair of boots. It's a great deal, so you can try it out, seeing is believing, and I have a feeling you'll see what I mean at the end of it. So that being said, boots are made for working. We got work to do. Let's get back to it. So we have these 3 Future 460 amp hour lithium batteries. We've got them all mounted with their own bracket. We've got a shelf for the inverter. We got them wired to the inverter, but now we need to wire the inverter to the 120 volt circuit breaker to power all of the outlets, the AC, everything else in the trailer that runs off 120 volts. But we've got a kind of a twofold wiring process here, because we've got to wire basically from the inverter out and up to that breaker panel, but then also from the shore power plug into the inverter, so that A, we can basically bypass the inverter with shore power and power everything up and not have to go through the batteries or the inverter, but B, use the shore power, whether from a generator or from the house plug, to go through the inverter and charge the batteries back up. So it's kind of a, 2-for-1 deal. Alright, that's all the wiring. This controller we need to mount, but I want to just run it from here for starters. So my plan is I'm going to plug into the shore power. We've got to turn all the batteries on, and then we'll turn the inverter on, and we'll see if it charges. It should just start charging. Okay, got to drag about 100 feet of cord out. The RV plug I have is off the house because it's a 50 amp plug, and I've only got 100 amps to the shop, but since the trailer is 120 volts, we only use half that, and I need to put one on the shop at this point, so that when we're getting ready for a race weekend and we want to charge this thing up while we're loading up, it's not such a hassle to pull the cords out. Hey, oh, we got power. Well, sweet, it's all working. I'm going to keep an eye on this, but let these batteries charge up and connect to them with Bluetooth. So I want to check that. It's probably going to take a while. They got a lot of capacity, but we can charge pretty hot with this inverter charger. So I don't know how much the outlet can take. It's 50 amps, but this is only 120 volts. That's 50 amps at 240. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to tinker with it, keep an eye on it. In the meantime, we'll move on. Had a rain shower. Good old sunny while raining Florida. Got a few more on the way, but timing works out because we got this set up, got it charging. So this is on, it's charging. We can change the charge current, which is pretty nifty. And then we can go into each battery here in the Vitreur app and see what their charge current is. So this one's at 12 amps and their state of charge and their capacity. It's perfect, everything's looking good. We might be able to spice up the charging a little bit. They're charging at like 12 to 13 amps each, but I don't want to push our luck there. They're still pulling, that's a pretty good amount. So anyway, it's doing its thing, it's working. We gotta keep an eye on it. We're kind of in a holding pattern until we get those charged up, because I don't want to use anything on the inside while they're charging, especially for this initial charge. I want to get them all charged up and then try them out. But the dually's been pretty much tied to the enclosed trailer for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So this has been my little tow rig, and it's been working great. But using it, this is the most probably I've used it frequently since I built it, really. And one thing that's been bothering me is with the sound system. So when I bought this truck from my buddy Derek, it already had a nice sound system. Problem is, even since he had it, he had put an inline switch. We have to flick the switch a few times. It does get kind of annoying because sometimes it just does not want to turn on. So I've been meaning to replace it for a while. But also this. So this is a Bluetooth receiver module. We have no head unit. We just connect to this with Bluetooth, and then we control everything off our phone. Because I put my Holley digital dash up here where you would have a double din. So that way, you know, street truck sleeper kind of, it blends in like a double din. However, I want to do a head unit. I think with these new mechless head units, we can make it fit without too much modification. So crazy, I've lived long enough to go from CD players to this in cars. And anyway, this thing's pretty compact. Should be a pretty, oh, I shouldn't say that. While those are charging and it's raining on and off, we can at least get some work done. That's been a struggle with this trailer project. It's not made our lives any easier. That is for sure. This has worked out really well though. The fuel cell surge tank cover / toolbox. Like I said, with any luck, you know what I'm trying to say. This is kind of the perfect rain delay project while it's raining and we're waiting on those batteries to charge. This is something I wanted to do for years. I've had this truck for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years now. And again, my buddy Derek put the switch in. So you basically flick the switch on and off, which is the power to the amp. And eventually it would turn on. And, you know, it's always been annoying, but it, you know, hasn't been annoying enough when I'm driving this thing every so often to take the time to change it, right? But since this has become the de facto tow rig while the Dodge has been preoccupied and this has been the shop truck to run around and do truck things, it's you know, it's something I'm dealing with every day. I'm driving this thing all the time, and it's gotten pretty annoying. And I thought, you know what, it's super easy. All we got to do is just unplug some wires, pull the old amp out, swap the new amp in, direct replacement, nearly, just slightly different, no big deal, right? Not have to take that much apart. We just got to get to some wires to, while we're here, do the head unit too. You know, that's another thing that's kind of been annoying with this truck, with the sound system, is that hidden Bluetooth receiver. It just kind of would be nice to have something, just a normal head unit in this thing. And I think there's a spot we can put it without having to give up the Holley fake doubled in kind of deal. I mean, granted, if you look at that and you know digital dashes, you know it's a digital dash, but I don't know. It's just one of those things I think is cool. I like it. And also it's in a good spot. I'm able to keep the factory cluster, but I can see all my vitals. I don't want to give that up. So if we can kind of win-win, get the head unit somewhere where it's accessible, but also not give that up, that would be great. Now, problem is, you know, this is supposed to be a simple swap, and here we are pulling the whole dang interior out. But, you know, if we want to do it right, this is the easiest way to do it right. If we're going to do it, we got to do it right. Gosh, how long have these been in here? Damn, they're Infinity reference. Old school. Derek, if you're watching this, comment below. How long have these old Infinities been in here? Wow, it's crazy. A giant magnet on them. All right, well, good news, bad news situation here. Good news is, get out there. I managed to find my missing wires. Never would have found that without taking all this apart. And I wouldn't have been able to get it out. So I'm glad I have that. Now we can hook our dial boost back up. I'm gonna hook this and this one to a bulkhead basically, so I can plug in without having to deal with the cords dangling around. That's one of the things I want to do while we have that out and we're doing those mods to that thing. I think I'll take one of the cigarette lighters out. Ooh, yeah, that might work. But the bad news is I just definitely did not intend to take this thing all the way apart. All the wires and RCAs I ripped out of there. Got this thing out. I'm going to take that control box out. That's weight. Trying to keep this thing light, you know. It's a race truck. No, it's not. It's a street truck, but yeah, cool. So I didn't leave the trailer batteries charging overnight. I'm just paranoid about letting batteries charge unattended, but I plugged them back in first thing in the morning, and we've still got a bit to go, which means we got some time left to finish up this truck project before we're due to get back to the next steps on the trailer. That's my excuse, at least, for finally tackling this project. It's one of those that I probably never make time for, and one of the things that I was really excited to do is put this USB bulkhead in. One way or another, regardless of the amp head unit situation, I wanted to do this to basically have a way to plug into our digital dash and our ECU separately without having cords dangling and having to tuck them out of the way, and it just fits so perfect where that other cigarette lighter was, so it just looks right at home. Now the head unit could be really easy. It seems like it's going to fit in this cubby that I was hoping to fit it in. It just requires a little bit of clearance and some modifications. The cubby tapers down. The only sad thing is that's like my favorite cubby in this truck. That's where I'd always put my wallet and stuff, but it's a trade-off I'm willing to make for a head unit, and lo and behold, it is like it was made to fit in there. This whole necklace thing, you know, again, it's funny to see something that was originally a CD player and now it's just a shell, which it makes sense, and if it wasn't, we probably couldn't fit it, so I'm happy about that. But I just went ahead and did my wiring up. This truck's like kind of at that borderline of when I was learning to take more time on wiring, and fortunately we have this inside project because Florida is still doing Florida things. Absolutely pouring down rain. The forecast is not looking great, so you know, great time to knock out these straggler projects. Now I am admittedly using it as an excuse to go down the rabbit hole a bit. You know, the amp wire was off the jump start area, and I didn't like that, so I ran new power wires. And then since these rear speaker spots were so perfectly close to the amp and it'd be easy to run speaker wire, I decided to put new speakers in there and run the speaker wire. I mean, there was a perfect spot where factory wire was secured to secure them to. I mean, how could I not? You know, I mean, we're here. How could I not? So, yeah, a little bit of rabbit hole, and it happens, but I'm just so over the moon about this USB bulkhead. We got everything hooked up, got those USBs plugged in, got RCAs plugged in, everything's routed under there, everything fits back together like it should. That was kind of the last question mark, and feels nice to get this done. Also, funny side note, there's a sticker on that center console thing. It calls it the smoker's package, the dual cigarette lighters. Well, this is the pile of stuff that we're left with. Pulled that amp out from underneath the center console. So shaving weight, this thing's pretty heavy. Wiring and then boxes and stuff, but yeah, pretty well wrapped up. Definitely the rabbit hole took a little longer than I was planning on working on this, but I'm glad. Amps mounted, covered up the old holes in the rear firewall, RCA's hooked up, and then I got to clean this wiring up, and yeah, all that's squared away. Moment of truth. Oh god, I always hate that. Well, at least this is all cleaned up. I've been meaning to do that anyway. Battery's secured now. Yeah. Alright. Digital dash power. We don't have head unit power. Oh, no, we do. Just had to turn it on. Alright, well, off the rib, it's working. All right, well, whew, man, this thing is rowdy. I've been tinkering with the tuning. They're so clear, so clear. I'm not a huge car audio person. I don't know a ton. I know enough to finagle my way around putting something in, but wow, man, my ears hurt a little bit. I mean, I was cranking it, right, to see what it sounds like, but A1. So with those and the better sub, oh man, this is gonna be, whew. It's going to be so good. It's going to be... Also, the whole point of this really was just to fix the flicker on-off thing for the amp and to put a head unit in. The head unit is great, though. It's awesome. Really happy to be able to just turn my volume up or down with a knob, play pause with a button. What a concept. It's almost like it's been like that forever for a reason. So anyway, I promise I'm not trying to break a record of how many times I say rabbit hole, but doing those back speakers, adding them, they're so crisp now that I decided I need to replace the front speakers and the sub, and yeah, so anyway, I ordered that stuff, but we've got a break in the rain, finally, for the first time in a while, so we can get back to work on the task at hand, the trailer. Now, we've got everything wired up 120 volt wise. We still have to test it once they finish charging. They're still topping off, but the one thing we haven't done is wire up the 12 volt system, and the 12 volt battery is basically what powers the interior lights, the outside lights, a lot of stuff in the trailer, and it's under the cabinet, so it's close by to where we put these other batteries in the generator cabinet, but not, you know, close only counts in horseshoes or whatever they say. It's kind of a weird spot for us to get the wiring to, so we also need to figure out how to get the wiring up from down here. I mean, I'd like to put that control module for the inverter up here where all our breakers and everything else are. I mean, that would be the optimal place to put it, but how easy or hard that's going to be, I don't know. It's like I'd like to put the remote up here, but it's going to be tricky to install it. Also got to get power in. The other thing I got to figure out is the 12 volt power from the truck charges the battery, but that's not really gonna work, I don't think, with these batteries. So I gotta decide if I want to try to disconnect that or make it switchable at least. So we could get our cable up here, we could mount our dealio somewhere around here. I never thought I'd be one of these people. I've been drilling a lot, but this is a prime example of why you gotta pay attention to where your drill is and your face, and the drill in relation to your face. Alright, well, good news, bad news. Good news is we've got pretty good access with this hole now that I know where to go, which I didn't with these first holes. But I can see down there and the wire is secured all the way down. So without cutting apart this whole box, we're not getting to it. Now, that means we're going to have to run new wire. But I did repurpose the existing wire that's in there. So basically the wire that was feeding from the battery up to the box, which is what we have to replace, is now feeding to the trailer jack, which is that fuse holder deal there. So we'll need to clean that up, obviously, secure it better, get rid of this ground, cover this hole, re-silicone that corner. But that way it's not for nothing. If I'm gonna do it, I wanna do it right. So anyway, we've got 8-gauge wire now. We got our cable to run up to our little display. And try to fish these rods up there and see if we can pull that through. It's either going to be easy or hard, or in the middle. All three. Of all the parts of this project, you know, fabricating this shelf and the battery strap and actually wiring everything up and determining how and where everything needs to go, all of that is easy compared to just running some wires. The irony of that, it's just, trying to get these wires up through this little cavity is tricky because we basically got the generator compartment, then there's another wall at an angle where all the wires are, and then there's stuff in there for things to catch on. So trying to fish these through, I eventually finally got the wire puller through deal up there after 10 snipping the hole open a little more so I could get into there with some extended needle nose pliers and pull it through. But I mean, that was the main battle. Now we just got to pull these wires up, hope our tape doesn't break, and we can get it all the way through. It's a little bit of a back and forth game of go feed some slack in, come back, pull it up. But eventually we got our wires up there. We got our feed from the batteries up to the 12 volt panel and our wire for the little control module dealio. Whew, finally, man. Not an easy task, but it sounds so easy. It seems so easy when you're gonna do it. Yeah, let me just get this wire, this simple cavity. No problem, no problem. Easy peasy, bro. Why you struggling? Why you struggling, bro? Hard. Okay. riding the wave of my successful wire pulling up through, I decided to try to get this wire that's going down into the cabinet where the battery was. That wire basically goes up into this cavity and then all the way up to the panel. So right now we've got it basically, the wire down to the trailer deal is got a double cross back and forth. So I decided to try to pull this wire through so we could at least shorten that route a little bit to the trailer jack. Got it. Cool. This was my plan originally, was to try to get this wire, but since it's secured down there, we couldn't. Regardless, we got it up here. Now that we've got through the dreaded, for me at least, part of getting this wiring back and forth from the 12-volt system to the 12-volt system, it's just a matter of pulling the wires through on each end. We want all our slack to be at the top because we've got a big cavity to shove all that excess. And then I'm using the same little 50-amp breaker deal that I used on the green truck for the audio system for here, because basically there's not a whole ton of load going off the 12-volt side of the system. Again, it's just the interior lights and the outside lights, but I want to make sure, you know, they're fused and protected. We've got this conduit sleeve in there, so that way they're not sitting on jagged edges, because there's no other real way to get in there and protect them. And it's just a matter of crimping on a bunch of ring terminals, heat shrinking on a bunch of heat sleeve, and, you know, doing some cable management, as they call it in the computer world, and getting this all cleaned up. Basically, now we have both sides of our system. Battery to inverter, inverter to 120 volts, and battery to 12 volts. Battery setup is, well, this side of the wiring is all done and dusted, aside from running some silicone around both of these. But these go through all the jaggedness. And then, yeah, we got our circuit breaker. Down to power, we've got our ground as well, 4 gauge, 8 gauge on the power, and yeah, everything as far as I know is wired in here. So now we've just got to do that upper panel. Thinking I can use the 10 snips. I just don't want to put a bunch of metal shavings into this compartment, but this panel's riveted in, so I can't just, you know, pull it out. But I could potentially, you know, I made this basically trim surround panel to clip into the panel, so that way we didn't have to be as precise on the cuts with the main panel, so that way ideally we don't have to use the same messy methods. So I also got my cable ends crimped on and my heat shrink done for the wire going up to the kill switch and then going to the 12 volt fuse thing, and it was time to cut this opening. But unfortunately the 10 snip method I was hoping would work is not working. It's just too tight for it to get in there. So Sawzall, the problem with Sawzalls is, you know, if the panel shakes, it doesn't work. So I had to break out my least favorite method and the most messy method of a cutoff disc to cut this shape out, so that way we can fit this in there. But again, at least we don't have to be as precise because we've basically got this ring to do that for us. We got to make in the shop. However, I went a little bit tight on the hole because I was, you know, trying to minimize the mess, and now I got to make more of a mess with the carbide birds. Definitely one of those things. You try to save yourself some work and you end up doing more work, making more mess in this case. But it goes in there, it fits, it ships. So now we just got to clean up our mess. gonna zip tie it there, so that way we have it. In case we want it later. So close. Be right back, I gotta trim this a little bit. Just a wee bit. There we go. That's about what I was hoping for. The only question is this. Will this still go on? Yeah, alright, cool. I was gonna rivet this in. Let me go make sure it's working. Okay. Ah, I should self-tap right. Dang it. No, I'm gonna rivet it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I brought the stuff out here. I'm gonna do it. I don't get to rivet things enough, you know? Alright, now we should have lights again. Yeah, look at that. Alright, and then if I turn this on, we should have power to our outlets. Yep, our outlet is lit up. Now the real moment of truth, quick. Oof, I'm nervous. I'm gonna see if the AC kicks on. Ooh, I'm nervous. Okay. And it's working. Oh, it's only 53% output load. Let's try high. Yeah, I was a little worried because that inverter is only 2,000 watts, but it has a peak inrush current capability of like, I forget, 4,000 or something. These run it way, like significantly less than 2,000, but their inrush current's like 3,500. 54, 55. Oh yeah, it's working. Battery powered AC. That's wild. We'll have to further test it. Let it run with the doors closed, but like I said, it looks like it's gonna rain. But yeah, here, check it out. 58% outload. Right, mode inverter, tells us our voltage. You can see in, nothing's coming in. You know, we'll say the AC off, like we just have access to 120 volts sitting there without having to fire the generator up just to charge a Milwaukee battery or run the quick jacks or something. So that's showing at around 55 to 60. It's definitely cold. Turn it back off. Cool. All right, well that works. Everything works. So satisfying. Back in the day, I used to, if I did wiring, it was definitely not first try. Always had some issue. And boom, and the kill switch. Oh, so now we have no power, or we should theoretically have no power. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, and like I said, and the idea of putting this up here is, you know, close that. You don't even know it exists, and it's protected from something bumping into it and turning it on. But also, you know, if we're at the track, you would just have that open, and then you can see your voltage. If we ever want to add like a sound system, we could put a little head unit dealio in here too. Not that I'm going that crazy. I'm just saying. But yeah, it's about to rain, so I'm going to close this thing up. Well, admittedly, I'm kind of a bit of a dog with a bone when it comes to projects. And when I upgrade one part and I see where it could be better, I have a hard time letting it go until I get it where I want it. And the fact that it's raining now, we can't really work on the trailer is a good excuse to finish up the truck project. And this is a perfect example, you know, with those new rear speakers and the more powerful amp, everything else seems underpowered. So we got a new sub that can handle more power, give us a little more bass, because we're going to have more, we already do have more on the mids to highs section, and we can't have the rear speakers overpowering the front speakers. So now we got to do a setup for the front. And I decided to go with a component setup, which is, you know, instead of everything being built into one speaker with the tweeter in the middle, it's a separate tweeter and woofer. Now, it's funny because the first projects I ever did on cars were sound systems, if you could even call it that. You know, I traded my Xbox back in the day, which is funny to think about now. I gave up gaming so that I could have a pair of subs and an amp. I got a pair of kicker subs and a kicker amp, no box, and then me and my buddy Brian built a box for my El Camino and found some $20 aftermarket head unit and a stock door speakers, you know, so it was just all subs. You literally could not hear the lyrics because it was a ton of bass and then nothing on the mids and highs. So obviously, I think maybe most of us who've delved into car audio have been down that road. You know what it sounds like. Not great. So in my older years, my wiser years, I know that I want a well-balanced system, right? I want good highs, good mids, and good bass, all well-rounded. That's what I'm going for here. So I pieced together this component speaker setup. It's actually pretty affordable, you know, compared to race car stuff. I mean, I'm sure it gets expensive with car audio, but the pair of these tweeters, which are massive, 1 pound each tweeters, was like $25 for the pair. Crossovers, $25 for the pair, and then the mid speakers, which are the same as the rear ones we put in, just a little bit larger, was $60 for the pair. I mean, it's crazy. It seems so crazy. So anyway, I got all this assembled on the door panel. I wanted to be able to kind of see the crossover through the grill, not to mention it's just the easiest spot to put it, and there's just enough room, hopefully, to put all this stuff. It's a little tight. It's fine margins, but it should make for a well-balanced sound system. Everything in synchronicity, you know? You can just almost see the crossover in there. Pretty satisfying. Tweeter, crossover, woofer. The crossover is like a little bit on the thick side where we mounted it. I can't remember. There's stuff in the way I planned around. But anyway, I'll put this one on and then we gotta put the sub in too. Then we'll test it out. Well, that was more like a side journey, but I gotta say, doing the speaker upgrade, speaker wire in the front and the sub, it was the cherry on top. This is dialed. I know you can't really hear it because you're hearing it recorded through a microphone and then playing on whatever speakers you got. I get it. But I think you can get an idea. Let's throw back real quick. Oh, it's so I'm happy. I'm so happy with it. Man, this one just ticks all the boxes. Those tweeters are insane. They're $27 or $26. Your ears are like, whoa. Oh, man. Man, it rips. Jibber jabber. That's done and dusted. Whew. Man, I'm just so happy. All right, we need to get back to the trailer. This will be our first time practical use case. Put the batteries back on. It's time to go kick the AC on and see what happens. Inverter on. Boom. Should have lights. Yep. And then drive me crazy if we have uneven cuts. There we go. Like nothing ever happened. Like we had the whole time. Like we had the whole time. So this Airline track to me is like Frank's Red Hot. I want to put it everywhere. You know, that I want to have it in a lot of different spots. So we have tons of different options for securing things. But the main thing is this track right here for securing the cars down and being able to over tire strap. It works so much better than any other strap method. I haven't been able to do it in this trailer. And without adding this, we wouldn't be able to. And this is the last piece of the puzzle, really, as far as getting the trailer ready to strap the car down the way I wanted to. Every single trip I've taken with this trailer, this has been on my mind about how much better it would be if we could over tire strap, and this is the final piece of the puzzle to do that, aside from our kind of quirky combination of strap components to make it work, since nobody makes a setup for over tire strapping with Airline track. But we've got a plan there. We've got that kind of figured out, so we just need the track to do its job and the straps will do their job, and our life should be easier when it comes to going to events. All right, well, we've got our car track fully done. Well, cars, technically, ideally, this should be the right, offset to strap all the cars to this over the tire. We got plenty of length here, so we have tons of flexibility on where to put the car. And we have room for our strap method that we're building to go down and forward, all that's good and well. Now we can answer the question of how this is all going to work with putting the odd man out back here, the tires. You got to bring a lot of tires to events. That's the one thing that we need to bring that we don't have a place for, and ideally that'll be back here. The question is if we can get the old 2-for-1 special and use the same shack that we're securing over the tire with, well, the car tire, to do the tires back here, or if we need to add one on the outside, the inside, diagonally, I don't know. Horizontally, who knows? That's a question mark, which we need to kind of get the answer to that question so we can decide what to do with the rest of this track. Because if we have it, we don't need it for back there, then we can replace all this other stuff with the angled track. It's a lot more robust, and it'll just make me happy to have it all matching, you know? So yeah, basically we just need to get everything back in here and see how it all shakes out. But we got to do some fabricating before we can do that. But on the power generation side, we're doing good, man. We're straight on target for the numbers I was hoping to hit, you know? There's a big difference between concept and reality. And so yeah, we've been running it for over 2.5 hours. And we're at 85%, so we've used about 15% charge for 2.5 hours of running not only the AC on a hot day, but also all the lights. This is a lot of lights. You know, I couldn't run these for very long with the old battery without draining it, so that's pretty good. That means ideally we should be able to run everything we want for a whole day at an event. Literally turn the AC on when I get there, let it run all day, and have the power to do so without any other sort of power generation. Now we're gonna have to have something else for longer events, but what that thing is kind of just depends on how all this shakes out. But for now, so far so good. When I got this trailer, I specifically went up from basically 24-foot floor space to 28, specifically to be able to bring a golf cart. It's before I even had the golf cart, but I knew for drag racing we'd need it, and for events, you know, drift events, being able to tote tires around, it would be super handy, and it fits. The problem is the rear footrest is so long that with the Vet specifically and the golf cart, while they both fit, there's not really enough room behind the Vet for a row of tires, which is what we need. So I've been meaning to rebuild this footrest so that way we can basically shorten the package of the golf cart up and be able to fit everything in there, but without losing any of the features of the golf cart. You know, it's a 4-seater. I want it to still be a fully functional 4-seater. We also still need the flip down seat to give us our little truck bed, flatbed deal to tote the tires around. So, you know, it's compromises. We gotta, you know, try to basically make it fit, but while also retaining the functionality. So the second idea and benefit of rebuilding this is the, you know, bolt-on typical footrest is just pretty flimsy. And with the trailer hitch I built and toting my boat around the yard, which I do quite often, you know, pulling it in and out from behind the shop, that kind of thing, it is not really up to the task. So ideally we'll be able to make this a lot stronger, a lot stiffer, and make it better for towing the boat around, because the other one was just kind of constantly bending and breaking. So that's the idea here. Shorter package, stiffer for towing the boat, and we're building it out of aluminum because the golf cart frame's aluminum. It's a little bit of a race cart, you know, it's a rowdy 70-mile-an-hour golf cart. So hey, if we can shave some weight too in the process, then that's just a win-win-win. But yeah, I've come up with a design. I need to shave at least 6 inches. Ideally, you know, 8 to 10 would be great. Give us a little wiggle room, but we got to get at least 6 inches shorter than the old setup. That's the main goal here. We also should be able to pop way higher wheelies with it being basically way shorter wheelie bars. So hey, another bonus, you know, all the bonuses. I gotta be honest about something. I was kind of winging it on the bracing and just using the leftover pieces of the drops, because I changed the frame dimensions a couple of times because it didn't quite look right with the way I originally cut the pieces. It was just too short on the one side. Anyway, yeah, just kind of winging it. But also the one that is important is the center one, because that's where the hitch is going to need to go. So that one I did kind of plan, but also still using scrap. There's just something satisfying about using scrap. I don't know what it is. Feels like a win, you know, if you can make make it work with scrap. Now, the thing is, with the golf cart, since we're mounting straight to the rear bumper, because that's going to be the strongest spot, the bumper's curved. So we need something to account for that curve. So we're using this piece of angle with slots cut in it. It was able to kind of form it to the shape of the back bumper. So then we can weld it onto the square frame, which we wouldn't have really comfortably been able to do that to. And we have basically a flange to mount it. So it should hopefully work out where we get it nice and tight up against the back bumper. And again, the whole goal of this is for it to be smaller, but also as solid as possible. All right, well, we got the start. I'm pretty happy with how this angle bend came out. It seems so tiny compared to that giant thing, but it's like the right size. You can easily put your feet on it. Yeah, so this, I was just gonna run a bar over, but it's gonna bother me. It looks ugly. Just one bar, ideally, direct from here to there. It's gonna be tricky. We're making and baking. Let's get back to work. Trying to get this done. Oh, it snowballed a little bit. I developed this whole plan for doing the armrest and then the bracing down to the footrest, and it wasn't until after I cut my armrest pieces that I realized we wouldn't have enough material of the square tubing to do both, so I had to pivot and change the game plan a little bit for the armrest. I mean, they're less critical in this process. The bracing down to the footrest is really critical because that's what's going to support all the weight on the hitch and the weight from your feet and blah, blah, blah. So, well, and the fold down flatbed deal, it's adding structure to that. The armrests are, more of a formality. So I came up with a combination of parts and pieces that I think will work. And the only thing is, it's not, aesthetically, I'm not in love with it. But, at this point, we gotta take what we can get with the material we got and try to spruce it up the best we can. So dimple dyes are always a good way to spruce things up. So we're going to be going a little dimple dye crazy, I'll see what I think and what you think when you see the end result, but I think it's gonna need something to add a little bit of flair to it because it's just not my favorite design. But again, I wasn't really planning on doing this project out of aluminum initially. It just kind of dawned on me that it's a race cart and I want to keep it light, and it seems like plenty of material. When you start cutting and chopping and welding stuff together, you realize there's not quite enough material, and this is my best shot at making this look cool. Ish. Less cool than not cool. Well, maybe going a little extra here. I didn't think it would look nice without doing something like this, and it's gonna bug me. But this is also just making do with the material I got. The trickiest part of this design, everything else is kind of independent of one another. You know, the rear footrest, besides that curve, is independent. The armrests are they're kind of dependent, but getting these bars to match down to the footrest to get it at the right height and make sure it leans up against flush, and that when you bolt in these angle pieces, that all lines up. Definitely the part I was dreading the most, and fortunately, we were lucky that it all fits together nicely. Just like it should. Just got to bolt it to the rear and we're partying. Ooh, that is rock solid, dude. Compared to the flex we had before, wow. Let's go. It's taking me way longer than I wanted, but that's like, dude, that's solido. Wow. Yeah, wow. Sweet. All right, armrest last. Well, I'll say it for you. I'm not in love with the handrails. It was just what I had material-wise. But I mean, like, I'm happy with the dimple dies. I think those look sweet. Or the way it was before with that armrest coming all the way out to here, you were really limited on what you could fit here. I do need to go ahead and drill it for the trailer hitch, so I can move the boat. Well, it works for towing the boat, but oversight on my part, it's too low. It needs to go up like 3-4 inches. While we're doing aluminum welding, I broke it again. I broke the steering box the other day, and then realized before I even got it back together that I had broken this pump guard. So I welded it back together, made these little braces, welded those on, you know, got that all done, thought, okay, but I broke another one. So let's get to it, man. After breaking the pump guard twice, back to back, granted, they were broken when I got it. I welded them back together, and then I hadn't broken them again. I want to go a little overboard, and since we're whipping out the tube bender, and I found this aluminum tube that I honestly don't even know when and where I got this for, I thought this might be a good trailer hitch riser. I just want something that'll look halfway decent on there. So I got it bent roughly where I needed it, but while we're in bin mode, I wanted to finish out these pump guard braces, because I know if I don't do them now and I save them for last, I'll run out of time and I won't get them done. So we'll get these done first and then hammer out our trailer hitch. Can't even really move the boat till we get that done either. So, you know. If I had a little bit more time, I would have notched those a little better. That's the most satisfying part, but we got them to fit good enough, welded them in. That's all we got time for, because we got to build this hitch, because the boat's stranded in here until we get this hitch done. So Both back together. Triple, quadruple brace. Got outside braces, inside braces, and the diagonal bars. I dare you. I double dog dare you, pump cards, to try to break now. No, it was honestly just kind of satisfying to do the bend and the notching, and it looks pretty snazzy back there, I gotta say. Just adding those braces looks snazzy. So anyway, that's done. Both back together. Hopefully should be good. And our hitch worked out. It's literally pretty much perfect. You can see if we try to flip this, okay, grease that up. But we can flip it down, it's all the way up, boom, and then boom. I don't like, let's see, actually. Oh yeah, if I did this before, the whole thing would be trying to fall off. Now we did add about 2 inches, which is kind of, obviously what we were trying to avoid, but based on the measurements of this, we still saved about 8 inches in length and probably 20, 30 pounds. Yeah, I can barely lift this with one hand. This thing's got some weight to it. Probably should steal those rollers off though, because this thing's going to be able to do some monster wheelies now with the shorter wheelie bar. But yeah, it still works good for your feet. I got to still add the top skin to it, but kind of works out where this diagonal bar acts as like a leg rest. Boom. You can see someone easily has plenty of room over here. The armrest, I mean, it'll hold you in to an extent, but more so something to hang on to, you know. It's a little skinny, but a little bit of a rabbit hole of a project to get it done the way I wanted, but super, super happy with that. So yeah, now it's time to see light at the end of the tunnel, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. We need to get the boat out of the way, especially now that it's fixed, perfect. Don't have to put it back in here. And get the golf cart in with the vet, the old long boy vet, and see if we still have room, if we now have room for tires behind the vet. And if my plan for securing them, mounting them is going to work. That's kind of the final pieces of this puzzle. See if all of the effort we put in, if everything worked out like I was hoping. Battery's dead. This is the next question mark. So see if we can get an answer. I gotta say, the armrests are growing on me. I don't dislike them as much as I did. I let my intrusive thoughts win on this one, and it didn't quite work out. I think it has the power to tow it. It's just the rise hitch I have is not even close to high enough. This trailer likes a pretty high hitch. The other truck, I don't have it drop that much. That's why I didn't even get it off the jack. Not to mention this thing's too low with too soft a suspension, but I was gonna try it. Did a bunch of upgrades to the truck, you know, did upgrades to the trailer. I'm trying both. Grab some tires in a second, but I mean, shoot. Got miles, dude. Let me actually roll it back some. I think I'm probably up in the hitch at the moment. Oh yeah, dude, we got, I mean, it works out too at the end. Oh, so much smaller. It's like, it's off to one side almost. I mean, I can literally step through here, and I'm confident even with it moved back that much, we got room for the tires. find out, shall we? Oh yeah. Only got clear access to the hooks, to the track to use the hooks. That was one of my big questions. So basically, I've got this really heavy duty, massive cargo net to basically put the little clip ends attached to it. So you would stack 5, 5, 6, and then hook it in to the track, boom, there and there, and there, and there. They definitely fit. That was the biggest thing we had left to do. Let's go look at it from the front again. You can see the golf cart. We even had a little bit of room, like we could scooch it another couple inches if we had to, knowing to get through there. But I mean, we still got room to the hitch. Even with where we're at, we've got plenty of access to this rail and miles of access to this one to strap the car down. So even with the golf cart in here, it's not a hassle. Heck, I meant to take this out, but I think we might actually be able to make this work. It just depends though, because I'd like to build a thing for the toolbox. That's what it looks like, golf cart. Boom. That and tires. Sweet. Well, I would say that is successful. Accomplished everything I was trying to accomplish. So sweet. All right. Well, I think that's about gotta wrap us up here. Trailer done and dusted. Golf cart fits. That tires. Now I can't wait to go to the next event and try it all out. But for now, we know it all fits. We got battery powered AC. We still got to make a decision on that as far as secondary power generation. It's hot and AC is nice. So I don't know. I'll see on that. I still got to decide. Any input, questions, comments, let me know what you guys think of the trailer upgrades, any ideas you have on how to continue improving it, change it. But we got our over tire strap situation squared away. We fit everything. I think we're pretty much ready to go for when the next event is. Load everything up. So I'm pretty excited. I'm glad to finally have that done. I got to finish up the golf cart's rear deck, put the wheels on it, put like a top, thingy, which I kind of want to like plasma cut it so I can do my logo. So I might wait to do that until I'm plasma cutting something for this project anyway. But yeah, shoot, you guys are overheating. I got to wrap it up. And I gotta get all this stuff unloaded before it pours. All right, this one's taking me a lot longer than I expected, but I couldn't leave it unfinished. I had to try it, test it out. Couldn't not get the payoff for you. So anyway, that's that. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Let me know what you think. And I can't wait to see you next time because we got a lot of stuff going on. I might buy an unfinished project I'm real excited about. Obviously we got projects. I need to get stuff for the property. It's old stuff, buy stuff. Do a backflip. I don't know. I got a lot to do. So I'll see you guys for all of it. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye.